Hi! I've been meaning to build a new pedal board for a while now. Since the release of Microtubes Infinity, I've been using that pedal only for all my gigs and rehearsals. But there's something just missing from that pedal, and that is multiple gain stages. For my tones, usually I also use a separate compressor, the Darkglass Supersymmetry, and a booster pedal, that's the Ibanez PD7, and also another distortion pedal, the way huge Pork and Pickle Overdrive and Fuzz. And even though the Microtubes Infinity sounded great, I couldn't quite get those tones from that. So I've partnered up with Rockboard by Warwick to build myself a new pedal board and also show you some really nice things that they've done to their new website. Let's start with the website. And at the website there is this tool called the Board Configurator. And this tool is what we're going to use to build our pedal board, or the first version of it, and to see that everything we want to add to the pedal board actually fits there. Let's go. And here we go. So this Board Configurator opens up to a Warwick Rockboard Tres 3.1, which is a really nice pedal board. I actually built a pedal board for bass into this specific board with the mod, I think 1 or 2 patch bay, but after doing 2 rehearsals and a single gig with it, I realized that I'm not really going to need to carry that much stuff if I'm only going to use 1 or 2 tones. So we are going to choose a smaller pedal board from the side here. And that's going to be the Rockboard 2.1 Duo. And this will be my final pedal board. The last one I'll ever need. Let's go ahead and add the pedals I want to be. I've already added all the pedals I own to my owned pedals list, so I can just browse these and choose the pedals that I'm going to use. We're starting with the Microtubes Infinity, which goes over there, and then the Pork and Pickle bass, and this is the Smalls edition of the pedal, even though it doesn't say that in the title. But it's understandable because that's the most recent version of the pedal. And then we are going to add the Ibanez PD7. This pedal is starting to be quite rare these days, and it's not a pedal that's particularly good pedal, but it has a single sound that it does better than anything else on the market. So we are going to put that on the pedal board as well. And then we are going to add the last pedal, which is the Darkglass Supersymmetry compressor. As you can see, there is plenty of room for all the pedals on the pedal board and also ample room for all the cabling that we are going to need to be doing. At this point, we could call this done. But what I'm going to do is I'm also going to add some descriptions into each of those pedals later on, so that when I publish this board into the Warwick Board Gallery, everyone looking at it will have an idea on what it is and what it does and why I've chosen that pedal specifically. And then there's also this neat part here, which is the power, because every pedal in the Warwick Board Configurator has all its specs listed into the Warwick Pedalpedia. And therefore we'll also have all the power consumption and voltages for each of these pedals. And we can see that none of these require huge amounts of power, except for the Microtubes Infinity, which needs 500 milliamps of power. Actually, a neat thing here is that for this Ibanez PD7 here, this photo is actually my photo. I took this photo. And the way you can add these photos into pedals that don't already exist on the Pedalpedia is that you click on the 3 dots there and then you suggest changes. This opens up a new window, and that's called the Pedal Creator. And here we can do all kinds of changes to the pedals. We can see that the inputs and outputs are at the right places, and we can check the measurements of the pedal and also all the information for the pedal. Oh, there's a Patrick Hunter video. I'll need to check that out later. Yeah, but this photo is one I took of my pedal. So there are also the settings that I'm using for this pedal. So you can go right ahead and steal those. But let's get back to the board. I'm gonna call this board finished. And here I can see all the parts that I need to build this pedal board. I can also order all these parts from Warwick, right from this menu. Now they are telling me to take the 5cm cables for the shorter distances and the 10cm cables for the longer distances. But I think we are actually going to order 20cm cables for most of those connections, since I'd like to keep this pedal board as neat as possible and therefore route most of the cabling underneath the pedal board. And then we are also going to add a power supply to our order, and then I'm going to forward that order to Warwick. And we'll see what we get in a while once the package comes through the mail. If you'd like to see these pedal boards for yourself, you can already see this at the Rockboard pedalboard gallery. I'll have a link to my pedal board in the description and also somewhere over here.
2 weeks later.
Okay, so we are back and it's time to open up the goodies. I've got all the things they sent me here. I got my tiny knife and it's time to open some packages. Let's go. Oh yeah, could we have some music please? First up, we've got this gorgeous Rockboard hard case, and inside the hard case is my pedal board. It doesn't have any pedals on it yet. We'll get to that. Next, we've got the Rockboard ISO Power Block version 6, and this one is the one pedal power supply that I found that actually could fit underneath. Gorgeous. Small, lightweight. And also we've got some cables here and a power adapter for this one, because it doesn't have a Euro cable input in it. It only has a standard barrel jack 18V 2A input, but so it does need to use an external power adapter for that. But I also asked them to send me a spare one, because if this one goes lost, it's going to be a nightmare to replace, so I at least got one extra to buffer that out. Next up is this brown box that that's a coffee cup. It's a bit larger than standard, which is great, since I'm going to need those during the winter months. Then after that, we've got a few cables. I got 2 of these 10cm cables, flat patches, and then I got also 4 of these 20cm cables, also flat. And I think that we are going to try to build this pedal board neatly, so that we can fit all these cables underneath the pedal board and have as little as possible on the top of the pedal board, so it looks neat and clean and social media worthy. Then after that, we've got this small package, which actually has the Rockboard Mini Mod TRS, which is a really small addition that you can add to your Rockboard pedal board. They have these light mounts on the side of the pedal board, and since I don't really use lights or need lights on my pedal board, some people do, I don't think most people would do need those lights. They've actually released this Mini Mod series of pedal board accessories that help you do other stuff with the light input there. This one is a TRS loop, but we are just going to do this so we have those jacks on the side of the pedal board. And this is going to be our input. That's all of the stuff unboxed. Next I'm going to gather up the pedals that we are going to use today, and then it's up to assembly. Okay, so we've gathered all the pedals we need for this build, and as mentioned previously, we are going to use the Darkglass Microtubes Infinity as the basis of this pedal board, and then we are going to add in reverse order the way huge Pork and Pickle, the Ibanez PD7 Fathead Overdrive, and the Darkglass Supersymmetry compressor. So we're starting with cleaning all of these up, since they've got some rather interesting bits of history on them, and we're going to use the PRF label off, which is great for removing all kinds of dirt and sticky stains from your equipment. Let's go! Next up is the way huge Pork and Pickle, and this is the smalls edition of the pedal. And it's important because this is really small. Clean enough. Next up, the Darkglass Supersymmetry compressor. This has been on my pedal board for a long while, and it hasn't been cleaned too thoroughly during that time. So let's clean this one up as well. Lastly, we've got the Ibanez PD7 Fathead Overdrive, and this one is a old pedal, so it's got some signs of use over there, and I don't think I'm going to want to take this rubber thing off right now. It would always be better to take these off. On some pedals you can just take the back plates entirely off and flip it upside down, but on this pedal it's unfortunately not possible. There's just not enough room for the rubber thingy inside the pedal. But we'll do a bit of cleaning to this as well. And there we go. Now we are going to do a fit test so that we can see that all the pedals fit onto the pedal board as we intend to. Nice amount of room for every pedal. This will work, definitely. So let's start assembling the pedal board by also cleaning the surfaces on the Rockboard pedal board. And then, since this is the Rockboard that we are talking about, all their pedal boards also come with Velcro and some additional feet that if you lose these, and some zip ties. So we are going to use that Velcro. This mini mod goes inside there like that. And then you find the right place for those two screws. And remember to always hand tighten the screws first. Then just a little bit of tightening after that. We don't want to screw these on too tight. And that's a neat little mini mod over there. Now next up we are going to be mounting these, and since we are going to mostly be using the XLR out on the Darkglass Microtubes Infinity, which is already dirty, we'll clean that up as we go. We are going to mount it right at the X-edge of the pedal board, so that it's easy to connect and so on. Next up, we are going to be mounting the power supply into the pedal board. Now you could just mount it by using some pieces of Velcro down there, but now you could just mount it by using some pieces of Velcro and then finishing up with zip ties. We are going to be mounting this using some dual lock that I have lying around. And I think this one looks clean enough, so we are just going to cut out some smaller pieces, because with dual lock you really don't want to use too much of it or you're never going to get these off. And we're going to be mounting it upside down so that we can easily reach the input from the side of the pedal board. That's all the pieces of dual lock mounted onto these, and as you can see, they add quite a bit to the height of the power supply. We've got everything securely mounted, and the power supply doesn't hit the bottom. Doesn't hit the table. Okay, first let's connect our first pedal to the input over there, and on the other side to the A input on the Minimod TRS. We are going to do a neat little loop there, so that the cable doesn't encounter any kind of pulling or other stresses. Okay, and since my rambling became more and more incoherent after this point, we are moving on to voiceover only. At first I thought that it would be nice to just connect everything as I went on through the signal path from right to left, and later I realized that this wasn't the best idea perhaps, because once I got to the point where I wanted to tidy everything up, I had to disconnect and reconnect a lot of stuff. The PD7 is the only pedal in the lineup with jacks on the sides instead of on the top, so that one had to go through some extra maneuvering to get all the cabling done. Then it's time to connect some more power cables. This time for some reason I'm going through the pedals from left to right, but that's just how it goes. There's this neat little center block underneath every Rockboard pedal board except for the 2.0, I think. that makes making neat cabling really easy because you can just stuff everything down there. But just stuffing everything down there makes for a really bad repair experience. So this time I wanted to make sure every cable was as neat as possible. Here I am removing the screws that hold the centerpiece in place, and then it's time to connect the last power cable, and after that we are moving on to tidying these up. I'm using the plastic wraps that come with the cables to hold them in place neatly without me needing to cut anything if I want to move those later. Your cables shouldn't be tight, because if your cables are tight, then you can't get them out anymore. And if that happens, you might also damage your cables, which is not nice. And after we have tied everything up, we are getting that centerpiece back again, like that. And for the final touch, we are attaching a zip tie anchor near where these three cables go. And then we are going to use a zip tie to get these cables to stay in place. Nice. And there we actually go. That's our pedal board built. Next up, we'll get to check out some tones and see if it really works. Hi there! It has now been a few weeks since we built this board, and since then it has been with me on a few video shoots with Indistinct, on a lot of rehearsals, and by the time that this video comes out, its first real gig. I've been super satisfied with everything on the board and the board itself, and the carrying case as well. The case is light, but it's still sturdy and keeps my pedal board safe. At first I was a bit wary about the power supply I chose, since some digital pedals can be super picky about the power that they receive, and if that's not done correctly, they can bleed some kind of digital interference into your audio signal as well. But so far I have had none of those issues with this board and the power supply, so kudos to Rockboard for that. I know this is a sponsored video, but when the time came to build a new pedal board, Rockboard was the natural choice for me to contact. Ever since I built my first board way back when I was still playing guitar and not that keen on playing bass, all my boards have been built on Rockboard pedal boards. I really like the system that they've got in place, and with the addition of their new website, the pedalboard builder and the Pedalpedia, I think it's just going to get even better. The new Minimod series patch base really took me by surprise. I didn't even know they existed, but I knew that I would like to have my input jack on somewhere else than on the actual pedals on my pedal board, so that was a natural choice for me as well. Now, you might be wondering why exactly I built a pedal board with all the effects that I already have inside the Microtubes Infinity. And the reason for that is pre-gain tone shaping. I can get by with just the Microtubes Infinity, but my real tone really lies within these three pedals and the combination that they do to my tone. So let's hear that. This is how the Microtubes Infinity sounds all by itself. And now let's hear how it sounds with all the pedals on. As you can hear, with all the other pedals on, everything is just more upfront. And that's what I want my sound to be. I don't want to get lost in a mix. I want the bass to stand out as an instrument among the other instruments. In addition to this tone, which I use for more than 95% of all the gigs I do, I've also configured a cleaner tone that gets me by when I need that. Lastly, I've also got a really super distorted tone for moments when I have long bass notes that require all the energy. Let's hear that. Nice. Now, huge thanks if you made it this far, and thank you for watching. I'd also like to thank Warwick and Rockboard, and especially Nicholas. Thank you for letting me do this again. That's all for now. I'll see you on the next video that I hope comes out sooner than this one. Goodbye! Ooh.